link no enti no mahu video no me title no the hidden truth about doom so Hubtel ECG and more.
All right.
And to be a private channel critical analysis on mahu video no. And that's why I don't understand why your politics not say yeah twisted amount do. I don't know why people do that. But I can't send the link into piano me kuti no I remind me. Ninti e discuss it then na 4 months ago we video ne tagline obe pekran ka betimi abokakra wa 4 months ago na doom so na aba na wo kan say hwe no bi amblemu mahama so de doom so aba no and I linked it to the ASAP educational me as a time ASAP we survey no somewhere in October 2024 near the IPPs so na Ghana energy sector and say net your IPPs I want to VR one they are the producers of the power, then you have the transmission company which is Ghana Grid Company Gridco, then ECG IPP is near the $1.2 billion. Say time na Sonia Sogli, so Togo and Fed they also cast almost shattered near them $320 million. Near the WAPCO West Africa Gas Pipeline, Nigeria may gas as I don't transfer to my near them about 20 million.
Cano nye Jomahama. Nasa kane ye abanda dano eke daho.
Even that one you shouldn't explain. Abanda bana obi so den ka $400 million. Abanda the 5 months. How do you want me to believe Abanda?
Well, some say politics na ye funny. Nti wa explaining ne sana.
We need to grow.
And you pani nyina na ti ase UG. Nti also ba for ma won say sa kano.
Yeah.
I ma yetimi ka se mo bia blame John Mahama se kana. E car na do dan kwaku for the da ho a.
Yes.
E was say di tua sa nkrofo ne car.
Yes.
Yenya ntua ye.
Yes, Nana.
Those clarifications.
I don't know why I couldn't find the video, but your listeners they be a sharp to send the video na mama. The title of the video no. This is the truth about doom so Hubtel ECG and more. It's Nana, that was the conversation. Now the conversation was about generation. Because Nana ECG lose revenue based on 2 ways largely, and based on my background in energy, there's understanding. There very big technical losses. Nana capacitance, the grid could transfer power na my ECG. They lose some of it because the infrastructure no ECG no. Ewo form.
Ne say ye de nyina mahodene air free baby akọ baby.
Yes.
Omu lose bi.
Yes.
If you say yemfa say ade na yemfa say wo konsu.
Yes.
Na ode
na mama say ma po. On ECG post. Say mu chepa you dissipate energy ni bi ejira ewa homa no so. It's na mostly post na close.
No person me deba form. Yemfa ne say yesi konsu.
Yes.
Na inso na wo kono. O kwa akofele 34 buckets.
Yes.
But 34 buckets no. O de ankre e na kosa nsu no.
Yes.
And now buy no ubehwie ankre nsu ni bi gu 34 buckets no mu. Ebebro so.
Yes.
Inti nka wo de nka wo anya nsuo bebree
ka de 34 ni mu nkongu ankre
ka wo engum nemo ye de ankre ni nsuo ni mu na egu 34 ni mu because ECG ayete say 34
yes
and one of mu produce no ayete say ankre
yes
inti wo mu produce power na ECG ahoma na eji ni pole no entimi ngi ni nyina sa inti ebi ye de ekwiriko
yes na 19 say nim agricom mo start some your maintenance on homa no
right
and again adeba kwese ehun say na your energy sector most of the contract no take or pay sa abrofo kakraka ni nya ye kan na kire ne say kojoja nto abadwuma nko a o kase o wankasa obetua ne ka It's IPPs no produce when you know who you sue when you sue betua ne ka
on the Indians who produce.
Yes, in energy contract you largely two contract take and pay or take or pay. Take or pay ni say o produce when you know nko a de a say ECG tua ne ka.
And Ghana buy so na age sade na
yes. Na o kind of release of ASAP on the 19th of September 2025. The issue they raised, it was to get a PURC. And Abeka publicly, PURC was threatening ECG. It's because you will be a friend of cash waterfall mechanism. Brofo Benetren say, sa institutions that was our energy value chain in Nano. Ya formula be a the ECG, UGCK for 10% my way. For 2% my way, for 3% my way, and on a cash waterfall mechanism. Yet, Yanis, oh, papa, oh, your Juma, who pay bar, send your woody baby a community DNA in crying school fees, the ECG will be bizarre, and if a cash waterfall mechanism. According to ASAP, many PURs, as a ECG, an average of about 2 billion CDs every year. Now, on the average,
every month and
every month. But on average,
yes. And what say ECG?
Yes.
Every 2 billion Ghana CDs.
Yes.
Sana yo target.
Yes.
Okay.
But another Kaya, Dr. Bawumia Beka say ECG revenue cost from 1.2 billion B. Then the issue was there, just like we fact check the job creation in pre-HHS now. And we realized that when you go to PURT ASAP data, the average ECG was doing was 800 million.
I just said the Dr. Bawumia de buy,
yes.
Not enye no correct.
Yes, it wasn't accurate.
Say ECG to me out of 2 billion, no yes. to me 1.2.
Yes.
But if you move by and near say entesa,
yes.
Na net say.
Nana, average was 800 million.
Okay.
It's 43% I'm account be free. Rough mass. If you take 2 billion, 1 billion is 50%. So if you are doing 800 million and NSF says that your average is about 43 billion. Clearly, you don't need to work the math.
Me person de ba for mo bi ati ase chese nhwemu a taxi driver now team chese nhwemu ne say e what say ECG anye bi omo 2 billion.
Yes.
But there no mo power on krata say 800 million.
Yes, on the average. So average is just what 5 year now, 12 months no. O calculating na divided by 12, the average is 800 million. So they are doing just about
1.2 bi there yentimi njije.
So they are doing less than 50%.
Okay.
So ASAP's argument is that when Hubtel comes in, now Hubtel about 1.95 to 2%.
Hubtel no ye di ba so mo fa mede.
So now the Hubtel basically came in say ECG digital money. No say to prepaid that. Ultimate turn on abe for so now about phone so near. Then Hubtel manages that financial arrangement. Then they will take what they call a service charge.
Okay.
Men can in charge in and according to ASAP no. Now about 2.8. Hubtel will release this statement say yes, one sika they bear 1.95. So that even affirm that there's some service charge that happens.
E chese nka sika na ECG betimi age no. Aban na no tesoye na nado danko Bawumia ne finance minister ni susu say sika na e kone ha adwen. Enti yenkofo obi te say Hubtel. No megina mu njeje sa sika na eye abefo de no emra enti me jeje ECG na enti menje ti Hubtel mum ne betimi age enti me mejeje wi a na mate me commission me wan so ECG nso hieska enti sika ne bi na e wosanka ni nyina ba ECG ho no na Hubtel asa TV because sabi mo enti me anjeje majeje amam enti mate me commission.
Yes, so now that was the agreement. But ASAP statement or they ban say or ASAP's contention then they say they don't see the increment in the revenue in the data.
Have to buy input.
Yes, or buy, you know. So ASAP's contention was what could find a Hubtel. Now man is sika we and the person go na obi o yamu ha dia bia no pepa na sakwa, right? So why are we not seeing it in the data? And another kaya, it's not just ASAP, even PURC, which is the public entity say between ECG and Ghana Water, they had the same issues with ECG.
Right.
And especially at the time, not ECG revenue, no, it really makes sense. Now, in fact, Nancy, I want to say ECG running over to about 15 accounts or so. So there was a lot of issues there. So ASAP was like, so what you be kaseya? Because now let's not forget, say 1.95%. Let's average ECG revenue over this year. So I can work the math for you. It's simple math to do. Say na wenya na nipa ne ba na adwuma sen no dia beka ho. So that was the argument of ASAP. And another point for area finish say, what about the ownership of the ASAP no? Video akwana say nobody talked about the ownership of the Hubtel.
I mean, I'm shocked that people who would say, yeah, Kayana, and I say Bawumia na Hubtel any dia.
Nana, you see, I've always said that.
Why do you have to lie?
Nana, you see, I've always said that fidelity to fact. That's why I've said the video. But you see, Nana, my challenge with most of these people is that when we are discussing a critical issue in certain sectors, you don't politicize. Nana, Dama President Mahama Bai. You see the two areas that may a problem. Cocoa board. Any ECG. For those who like data, or share a budget now. I'm just giving you some rough estimates.
A quick one,
2023, Ghana is spending 23.65 billion in the energy sector alone. 23.65 billion. 2024, 22.94 billion. 2025, 24.94 billion.
Yeah, we know. But I just want you to give any when you brab on the issue of Hubtel. But now the key thing now, is first of all, nobody said Bawumia and Hubtel any dia. But we stated that Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia brought in Hubtel.
Yeah.
The essence of bringing in Hubtel was say, or see ECG phone to mean Gigi Sikano.
Yeah.
Enti Hubtel mo ne betimi agye sika ne yie ena ye hu se sika na ECG no Hubtel beje ye no ya nhye da hu se sika gye na e wo say ye 2 billion Ghana cedis every month no e kosoro sa. In fact, out of the 2 billion no na ye 800 million pe ena no mutime gye. Na Hubtel no so gye wi a de na ba kwa ye count say Hubtel di sika ne to. Time will be and sakra no transfer. Now Hubtel so say transfer was apart from the commission, Hubtel charge transfer fees. Enti ebia won ti ase a enti maybe me ka say me yes am for me ka say te say multimedia aha say one na sika enye Edna ne Alex mu enti ye wo ho a yes o traffic for enti me sika yi enti yen kofa akokwa company emma sika no ma multimedia na akokwa sika na akokwa nse da mfa sika bebre ama eye no na multimedia betimi age no
just like just like the SML contract and an SML we share documentary na 9 people for demand as reactor but Kufuor suspended SML why the Kufuor suspended SML do you have more sense than the president because the president established a prima facie case that MPA now know what downstream sector or share fuel stations so no also no ntimi check the system into go for company biaba company out there ban he didn't have any track record of working in the downstream sector but President Kufuor suspended the SML why it was a no once started fly kite be say Mahama be extend the SML and GRA has come out to say that they are not working with SML so what they did in most of these entities is that County GVG what has happened to County GVG
because
but the NCA told you they have the capacity. They spoke to the MPA. Mustafa Hamid on record said say MPA has a data. The data set the system to track whatever revenue that they have to get.
Edumo be here dada no. Who empower nipa na mane nye.
Yes.
No akofa company be.
It's just like the SML.
What's in the commission?
It's just like the SML.
And that is the work of Hubtel. So I am just asking say abai way so obeto Hubtel so ana.
Nana, you see, Nana, my concluding statement on this is that you see, our politicians have managed to get people. Nana Sebi, they don't. Because Nana will end it there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nana, I think say shortly for the ECG issues, no. I say share Price Watercoopers or more investigation on ECG accounts. Almost to me 15 billion 2024.
Yeah.
And they under declared. 10 billion pen added to a just say and no mania. Meaning said there were some things going on at ECG na enye which needed Hubtel so by who say ECG got financial growth kakra. Yes, they came to help almost finances.
They were only but looking at the facts, no. Dr. Bawumia said, and that's why I want to avoid because Dr. Bawumia is a friend.
Yeah.
But Dr. Bawumia said that Hubtel buy, you know, 1.2 billion. But that was not accurate.
Yes, he might be wrong with the figures.
No, but that's not accurate.
Yes, it's not accurate.
But ECG was making 800 million. So Hubtel coming in based on the records was marginal. It didn't add like we were expecting.
Yes, but there were some growth.
But that growth
I appreciate
was not you. You see, you are supposed to collect 2 billion.
Yeah.
You come in and we are still making 800 million.
That was the target then. But
the target is 2 billion.
Yes.
It is not 800 million.
Yes.
So Hubtel should be making 1.5 billion for us. That is the growth we are talking about.
Yes, but then the main person will say there were some, even if it's marginal, there were some growth.
So if that is the case, then
revenue.
Let's empower ECG for now to do that. Because I'm thinking that
no, but these people are the same people and are declaring their revenue. I mean, they get 15 billion,
so
tell you they get 10 billion.
Giving us based on that, no 1.5. But if you are still doing less than 1 billion, you are not doing much.
No, you see, that is why it calls for investigation to the total. This because Hubtel, the 1.95 no crowd distributions, no, it become money away for no. Operators no it been so called more technology apps now we use ni ade nyina until we have to go into details about I want us to establish that when Hubtel came there were some, even if it's marginal, there were some financial growth.
Do you know that when PDS came, ECG recorded a certain growth?
Oh yes.
Was that legal?
But then it's appreciated.
And I'm saying PDS buy a year can some buy so be contract
no man na enye. We have to take that one aside and look at the
you see here and go for be oba sika na kakra be nyo besa ati sa sika no.
So has it been established say Hubtel area yesika
Hubtel na onya commissions bi wo ho a sa sika no na esate the profit margin of ECG.
But the end sign here.
That's the point.
And Hubtel nye bonibia because you agreed. That's agreed. I say zoom line on the end. It's an agreement.
Exactly. I agree
and so
with
you have agreed that the person will work this way.
So that is why it's a funny case. It doesn't make sense to bring a company ubetimi empower ECG to do that. in that case I say Hubtel no I come in just to rake in money and sasi can be buy a ho if you didn't bring Hubtel.
So how long would we stay with ECG? How should we empower them this ASAP establish those? Because ECG has been doing it over the years, under declaring, making losses and all that.
So what do? Sack the people, get the right people in there. That's the reason why you are the president. So me bana won't mean this can make me nya akokwa mana Jesus kana. Me pam obi nam de akokwa aba na akokwa hwese wa Jesus kana. Simple.
And totally that's why they brought Hubtel.
Well, that's the problem.
But
now.
We need to look into the contract.
Yeah,
some reforms.
I am saying that empower ECG, cancel Hubtel, cancel it. ECG betimi nya machines to collect the monies. Nasi kana bagana ho. Don't create a middleman to make money.
Obi otiwo under declaring empower no in
clear the person. That's the point.
Okay.
Clear the person. And now clear the person, clear accountant, get a new machine, get the
my yes idea Ghana nipa I was say kofa Ghana nis once and we still experience the same thing. But I think that we have
and then ye one now mu share mortuary so e be din komo. The two ma ba mani age e ye nanse won say aka ho asema
no be na